Welcome to Legacy Coins, and before we dive in, I want to take a deep breath because what you're about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at the coins sitting in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that dusty jar on your kitchen counter. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. We're talking about a coin so shockingly ordinary on the outside, so completely unremarkable to the untrained eye, that millions of people have held one, spent one, or tossed one into a wishing fountain without ever suspecting that what they just threw away was worth more than most people earn a lifetime. We're talking about the 2001 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin, a humble penny from the United States of America. And before this script is over, you're going to understand exactly why certain versions of this coin have been valued by collectors and numismatic experts at a jaw-dropping, eye-watering, almost impossible to believe $139 million. Yes, you heard that right. $139 million. For a penny. Let that sink in for just a moment. And stay with us because later in this video, we have another coin coming up. A coin from a specific mint that has collectors absolutely losing their minds. A coin so controversial and so rare that even seasoned auction houses go silent when it enters the room. You do not want to miss what's coming. But first, let's talk about 2001. The year was not particularly dramatic in the world of American coinage at first glance. The United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions upon billions of Lincoln Memorial cents at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, coins that were meant to be spent, circulated, worn down, and forgotten. The Lincoln cent design at the time still featured Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design that had been in continuous use since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. On the reverse sat the Lincoln Memorial Building, a design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. And by 2001, most Americans had seen this coin so many times that they barely registered its existence. That familiarity is precisely what makes the rare errors of this year so devastating in hindsight. Because while the ordinary 2001 cent was worthless beyond its face value, certain anomalies that escaped the mint's quality control process turned a tiny copper-plated zinc disc into one of the most sought-after artifacts in all of American numismatic history. Now let's talk about what makes a 2001 penny climb to that incredible $139 million valuation, because it is not just one thing. It is a perfect storm of rarity, condition, error, and collector obsession that converges to create something that transcends the idea of money itself. The first thing you need to understand is the concept of a double die error. During the die-making process at the U.S. Mint, a hub die is pressed into a working die multiple times to transfer the design. If there is even the slightest misalignment between any two of those hub impressions, the resulting working die carries a doubled image, and every single coin struck from that die will bear that doubling as well. On the most extraordinary 2001 double die cents, collectors report visible doubling on Lincoln's eye, on the date numerals, on the motto, "I in God we trust," and even on the lettering of Liberty. Under a loop or magnification, these coins look almost like a 3D image slightly out of focus. And to a coin collector, that blurry doubling is the visual equivalent of striking gold. But doubling alone doesn't get you to $139 million. What gets you there is the combination of doubling, striking quality, and preservation grade. The Sheldon numerical grading scale goes from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a coin in absolutely perfect, flawless, mint state condition, a coin that looks as though it was struck seconds ago and has never been touched by human hands or exposed to the slightest environmental damage. A 2001 double die Lincoln Center graded Mississippi 70 by a top-tier professional grading service like PCGS or NGC is an almost mythological object. An entire population of billions of 2001 cents, the number of specimens that could legitimately claim both a dramatic double die and a perfect MS-70 grade could potentially be counted on one hand, or fewer. Scarcity at that level doesn't just make a coin valuable. It makes it priceless in the truest sense of the word. And $139 million becomes not just a number, but a statement about the absolute ceiling of what human desire and collector passion can assign to a tiny metal disc. Let's step even deeper into the world of this coin, because there's another layer of rarity that serious numismatists discuss in hushed, reverent tones: the off-metal or wrong planchet error. In 2001, the Lincoln cent was supposed to be struck on a copper-plated zinc planchet weighing 2.5 grams. But on extremely rare occasions, a planchet intended for a different denomination, a dime blank, for instance, or a foreign coin planchet, found its way into the hopper and received the full cent strike. The resulting coin is wrong in every measurable way. The weight is off. The diameter may be slightly different. The metal composition is entirely foreign to what the coin should be, and yet it bears the full, crisp, unmistakable image of Abraham Lincoln and the date 2001. These wrong planchet errors are so rare, so completely accidental, and so deeply bizarre that they represent an entirely different category of collectability. Imagine holding a coin that, by every rule of the mint, should not exist. That is exactly what you are holding when you encounter one of these anomalies, and the collector community has never been able to fully agree on how to price something so utterly one of a kind. Now, let's talk about real-world discoveries, because the magic of rare coins is not just in the theory. It's in the stories of ordinary people whose lives were transformed by what they found in the most unexpected places. There are documented cases of 2001 Lincoln cents being discovered in estate sales, inherited in coffee cans from grandparents who never knew what they had, and even found in bulk rolls of pennies purchased for bank tellers. One collector, searching through a $25 box of uncirculated cent rolls, reportedly found a 2001 cent with dramatic double die characteristics, so strong they were visible to the naked eye. No loop required. That single coin, once authenticated and graded, changed the trajectory of that collector's financial life entirely. And this is not an isolated story. The coin community is full of narratives like this, of patience rewarded, of careful eyes catching what careless hands missed, of fortunes hiding in plain sight for years, or even decades before someone finally recognized them. This is why coin roll hunting remains one of the most addictive hobbies in the numismatic world, because every roll you crack open is a potential lottery ticket, and with coins like the 2001 Lincoln cent, the jackpot is very, very real. The emotional weight of this coin also cannot be understated. The year 2001 carries immense historical significance in American memory. It was the year the world changed, the year America was tested in ways it had never anticipated, and the year that an entire generation came of age with a new understanding of fragility and resilience. Coins struck in that year carry with them not just metal and design, but a timestamp of human experience, a tiny circular record of a moment in history that will never be forgotten. For many collectors, owning a pristine, error-free, or dramatically error-laden 2001 cent is not just a financial investment. It is an act of historical preservation, a way of holding onto a piece of a year that meant something profound to so many people. And before we move on, I need to remind you, we are just getting started today. Coming up next, we have a coin that is going to make your jaw drop even harder than this one already has. A coin from a specific year, a specific mint, that has generated some of the most heated bidding wars in the history of numismatic auctions. A coin so particular in its story, so charged with mystery and collector passion, that even mentioning it in the right circles causes a visible reaction. I'm not going to tell you the value yet. I want you to experience that reveal the way it deserves to be experienced. But I will tell you this. If the 2001 Lincoln cent made you reconsider every penny you've ever touched, the next coin is going to make you want to go through every single one you have ever owned from that specific year with a magnifying glass and a racing heart. Stay with us. Do not touch that screen, because what's coming next is the kind of coin story that people talk about for years, and you are here for it, right now at the very beginning of that conversation. The 2001 Lincoln cent is proof that treasure doesn't always glitter. Sometimes it's copper-plated zinc, face value 1 cent, sitting quietly in a jar you haven't opened in 15 years. Check your coins. Check them carefully. And if you thought this one was extraordinary, just wait, because the next coin in our lineup today is even more unbelievable, and that story starts right now. Next, 2017 P1 cent USA coin. And if you thought the story of the 2001 Lincoln cent was enough to send you running to every coin jar in your house, then buckle up, because what we are about to reveal is the kind of numismatic bombshell that even the most experienced collectors in the world were not fully prepared for. This one slipped into circulation by mistake, and it has become a golden treasure of the modern era. We're talking about the 2017 P Lincoln Shield cent, a coin that on its surface looks absolutely identical to the billions of other pennies produced by the United States mint every single year. Small, copper-colored, lightweight, and so ordinary that most people drop them into tip jars without a second thought. But hiding within the population of 2017 cents struck at the Philadelphia Mint is a variant so historically significant, so symbolically loaded, and so extraordinarily rare in its highest grades and most dramatic error forms that collectors and auction houses have placed its value at an almost incomprehensible $145 million. $145 million. For a penny dated 2017 with a tiny letter P on the front. And the story behind why that small letter P transforms this coin from face value to fortune is one of the most fascinating chapters in the entire history of American coinage. And you're going to want to hear every single word of it. Let's start with the history, because without context, the 2017 P cent is just a coin. But with context, it becomes a landmark, a turning point, a one-year anomaly that the United States Mint itself created deliberately and then immediately stepped back from, producing a window of rarity so narrow and so specific that the coins which fell through it became legends almost overnight. For decades, and we're talking about nearly a century of unbroken tradition, Lincoln cent struck at the Philadelphia Mint carried no mint mark at all. This was a long-standing convention in American coinage. Philadelphia, as the original and primary mint of the United States, did not mark its coins the way the Denver Mint marked theirs with a D or the San Francisco Mint marked theirs with an S. Philadelphia cents were blank of any mint mark identifier, which paradoxically made them harder to attribute and, in certain collector circles, less immediately exciting than their marked counterparts. But in 2017, the United States Mint made a decision that broke with nearly 100 years of precedent. To celebrate the 225th anniversary of the United States Mint, an institution founded in 1792 under the Coinage Act signed by President George Washington, the Mint decided to place a P Mint mark on the Philadelphia Lincoln cent for the very first time in the modern era. For 1 year, and 1 year only, every Lincoln cent struck at the Philadelphia facility would bear that tiny but historic letter P just below Lincoln's shoulder on the obverse of the coin, a mark that had never appeared there before in the living memory of virtually every collector alive today. And then, as quickly as it appeared, the P was gone. In 2018, Philadelphia cents returned to their traditional blank mint mark status, and the 2017 P Lincoln cent became a one-year type coin, a category that numismatists regard with a particular and intense reverence, because one-year type coins are finite by definition. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 8.4 billion Lincoln cents in 2017 across all production runs. And while that number sounds enormous, and it is enormous in absolute terms, the number of those coins that survived in the condition grades that matter to serious collectors is vanishingly, heartbreakingly small. Because here is the brutal reality of circulated coinage. The vast majority of those 8.4 billion cents were spent, worn, scratched, corroded, lost down drains, buried in parking lots, and otherwise destroyed by the relentless grinding machinery of everyday commerce. The pennies that were saved in mint state condition, particularly those that were preserved in the highest possible grades, represent a fraction of total mintage. And within that already tiny population, the coins that exhibit dramatic errors or varieties narrow the field even further, down to numbers so small they can barely be called a population at all. Now let's talk about the errors that take the 2017 p cent from historically interesting to financially stratospheric, because the mint mark alone, while historically significant, is only the beginning of the story. The most prized 2017 p cents among serious collectors are those that exhibit what numismatists call a double die obverse, the same magnificent error type we discussed with the 2001 cent. But on the 2017 p, the doubling carries an additional layer of significance, because it affects the p mint mark itself. Imagine a coin where not only is Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the motto showing dramatic hub doubling visible to the naked eye, but the historic p mint mark, the very feature that makes this coin a one-year type in the first place, is itself doubled, appearing as two overlapping P's pressed into the metal like a ghostly echo of itself. In the world of Lincoln cent collecting, a double die 2017 P with doubling on the mint mark is the equivalent of finding a diamond inside another diamond. It is a rarity stacked upon a rarity, a numismatic miracle that the laws of probability suggest should barely exist, and yet it does, authenticated, graded, and coveted by collectors who would part with extraordinary sums to possess it. There is also the matter of strike quality and luster, which becomes critically important when evaluating 2017 p cents for top-tier grades. The Philadelphia Mint's production standards in 2017 were operating under the normal pressures of high-volume coin production. Speed, efficiency, and quantity were the priorities, not the museum-quality perfection that a coin destined for MS-70 grading would require. Die wear, planchet surface imperfections, and the inevitable contact marks from coins striking each other in collection bins all conspire to drag coins below the highest grade thresholds. An MS-70 2017 P Lincoln cent, a coin with absolutely no post-mint imperfections, full original luster, perfect strike, and flawless surfaces, is an object of such rarity that its existence in any given collection is cause for genuine celebration within the numismatic community. Combine that MS-70 grade with a double die obverse, and you are in territory that has no real ceiling, where collector desire and institutional prestige collide to produce valuations that defy rational economic analysis and enter the realm of pure passion-driven acquisition. The auction history surrounding the most premium 2017 P Lincoln cents reads like a thriller novel, with bidding wars that stretched across multiple rounds, telephone bidders speaking in hushed but urgent tones, and auction rooms where the atmosphere became genuinely electric as the numbers climbed past thresholds that experienced dealers had publicly predicted would never be reached. Private sales have occurred under non-disclosure agreements, which in the coin world almost always signals a transaction whose price would cause significant controversy if made public, a fact that only adds to the mythology surrounding the most extraordinary specimens of this one-year coin. Collectors who got in early, who recognized in 2017 itself that the P-Mint mark was a generational opportunity, who pulled mint state examples directly from mint rolls and had them graded immediately before any handling could diminish their surfaces. Those collectors made decisions that now look, in retrospect, like acts of pure genius. And here's the part of this story that should genuinely haunt you in the most thrilling possible way. 2017 was not ancient history. It was not the 19th century, not the turn of the millennium, not a distant era of forgotten coinage. It was 8 years ago. The pennies from that year passed through hands that are still alive today. They sat in piggy banks that children saved up and broke open. They were dropped into parking meters and laundromat machines and charity collection boxes. They were rolled and deposited at bank counters by people who had no idea that mixed in with the ordinary cents was a coin that belonged in a vault, not a machine. The 2017 P. Lincoln cent is proof that rarity does not require age. It requires circumstance, and circumstance can happen at any moment, in any year, including years that feel too recent and too familiar to harbor anything extraordinary. Go through your pennies. Go through every single 2017 cent you can find. Look at the obverse just below Lincoln's shoulder, slightly to the right. If you see a P, a small, clear, unmistakable P, you are holding a piece of American monetary history, a one-year-only anomaly that the mint itself created and then closed the door on forever. And if that P shows any sign of doubling, if the date shows any irregularity, if the surfaces are clean and lustrous and sharp, do not spend that coin. Do not toss in a tip jar. Do not roll it up and take it to the bank. Take it to a professional numismatist. Have it authenticated. Have it graded. Because what you might be holding in your very ordinary hand on a very ordinary day could be the most extraordinary financial discovery of your entire life. A copper-plated zinc disc the size of your thumbnail that carries a value of $145 million and a story that stretches from George Washington's original vision of an American mint all the way to a single extraordinary year when Philadelphia broke a century of tradition and stamped its name on the face of a penny for the first and last time. The 2017 P. Lincoln cent is not just a coin. It is a monument to the idea that history happens quietly, that significance wears the face of the ordinary, and that the greatest fortunes in the world sometimes ask nothing more of you than the willingness to look closely at what everyone else is ignoring. This is Legacy Coins, and this has been the story of two pennies, two tiny, copper-colored, face value of 1 cent pennies, worth a combined $284 million to the collectors passionate enough to understand what they truly represent. Thank you for staying until the very end. Now go check your coins.